The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. Viewers are invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
This is your captain speaking. We are beginning our descent into madness.
Open your mind.
And we are back to another edition of What's the Rockies. I'm Frank. Thank you guys for sticking around. I know it's late, but tonight we're going to make it worth your while. Genevieve, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing quite all right. How are you? Apparently not that well.
Not too well. No. It's yesterday was like I said a really fun Halloween party, and I had a lot of fun. I may have overdone it on the apple juice, but you know, I'm still here, and nothing like a little Pantera to get the blood pumping. Yeah. Get things started.
I mean, that wasn't my idea of soothing music.
I know. Yeah. It's a quick shout out to everybody tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. Tonight we have a really, really interesting show. I'm really happy to welcome a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, Jayni. Our longtime listeners will remember that I interviewed Jayni. She was one of... Actually, you know what? Here's a little fun fact. Jayni was my first guest. Mm-hmm. She was my first official guest, and she came to share some of her experiences being a paranormal investigator with like the TAPS crew, and you know, she brought some EVPs, and we had a great conversation with that. Fast forward a few years, and Jayni works doing hypnotherapy. Yeah. Right. And this is something that I always found interesting. You know, I've heard a lot about hypnosis and the myths and some of the folklore, I guess you can say, surrounding hypnosis. Yeah. You know, when I started looking into hypnotherapy and learning about some of the things that it can be used for, you know, like stress relief, trauma therapy, they can help you, you know, deal with fears and phobias and things like that. And, you know, you can also get into some really crazy stuff like dream therapy and past life regressions, right? Yeah. And tonight, we're going to talk to Jayni about some of this stuff and a whole lot more, because the world is quite the crazy place. So without further ado, let me see if I can get Jayni on the line here. Jayni, can you hear us okay?
I can. Hi, Frank. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi,
hey,
Jayni.
West the Rockies.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're really happy to have you. And yeah, like I was telling people, right, you were my first official guest, and it was a great show, and you have come back on numerous occasions. And tonight we're going to talk about this, you know, what you've been doing for a while now, which is this hypnotherapy. It involves hypnosis and all that, but why don't you tell people really quick what hypnotherapy is?
Well, hypnotherapy is a therapeutic method that helps alleviate unwanted thoughts and behaviors. It's as simple as that. You know, a lot of times what you're seeing in TV and film and what you might be reading about on the internet brings a little bit of a Hollywood feel to it, you know, with sort of these misconceptions and, as you mentioned a moment ago, these folklores around it. So not only do I have my own practice as a hypnotherapist, but I also spend a lot of my time doing shows like this, or you know, I have my own YouTube channel now where I'm trying to kind of take those misconceptions and put the reality out there and the truth about what it is and how it works.
Now, let me ask you something, because I'm sure people might be asking themselves this question. You used to do paranormal investigations, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it the TAPS crew? And how did you get involved doing that back then? You know,
to be more specific, I worked with ghost hunters who worked with TAPS.
Gotcha.
So, you know, I with ghost hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel when they had, you know, they're East Coast based, but they were coming to the West Coast to do some investigations in Hollywood. They were going to be investigating one of the murder houses for the Charles Manson murders, and also they were investigating the Jim Henson's Muppet Theater, and it also used to be Charlie Chaplin's theater back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So the staff there on that property literally had daily paranormal activity. Daily.
Oh, wow.
They would come in, and no matter what they did to try to alleviate that, you know, they would, everything would be just so. They'd lock up, they'd leave for the night and come back, and you know, things would be flipped around and furniture would be moved and, you know, lots of things. And they would, and very often they would see full apparitions, which is so unusual. people. Again, that's something that is so Hollywoodized. When you talk about paranormal events, people think that, a big ghost from head to toe shows up, and that's actually very rare, for people to see full apparitions. So several staff members had that happen on numerous occasions. So it's a very active property right off of Sunset Boulevard here in Hollywood.
I'm a bit familiar with the with a house up in Cielo Drive. It's not the house where the murder has happened, because that house got demolished, but it's one of the neighboring properties. And apparently the homeowner there claims that it's a pretty active with the ghost of Sharon Tate and things like that. So I've heard a bit about that, and that is really interesting. Yeah. Did you guys did you manage to get in contact with anybody with the Manson murders?
We did not have a lot of activity there.
Uh-huh.
So that portion wasn't aired as much as the other. They were doing a 2-day segment,
Gotcha.
Hollywood segment. And, it's interesting because I think we went in thinking that was going to be the money shot, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. We really thought that was going to be where we would get a lot of the activity. We ended up getting more activity over at the Charlie Chaplin Theater.
Wow.
Much more. And that isn't to say that that the Manson house
Mm-hmm.
isn't active. I'm sure it
Right.
is. And I think more than paranormal activity, I think my biggest I was actually had a little bit of a threat with the energy that we were dealing with, more
really?
than anything else. Just the fact that you would have stagnant energy is such a terrible event,
Right.
such a this evil force, perhaps,
Of course.
and that it's not necessarily paranormal in the sense that we're going to see things flying around the room and ghosts appearing.
Yeah.
That's not really what I thought would happen. Anyhow, I kind of just figured, okay, well, we're stepping into force, and we may not have something that will validate that
Mm-hmm.
on on one of our screens or our recorders, but I think you could feel it. We all could feel it when we walked in. It was like, oof, this is heavy.
Wow.
Very, very heavy.
Jayni, we're going to be popping in and out of the paranormal topic because, it's October, right? Halloween is just coming up. So, but I know that people in the chat room are interested. They want to ask you some questions. I saw a comment that Tony Merlo says he hadn't been he's never been hypnotized or never attempted to be.
No, I believe it stemmed from Professor Madness's question about, can anyone be hypnotized, or are there some that are not able to be?
Okay, so would you like to answer that question, Jayni, and then we'll throw a few more at you from the chat room?
Yeah. Well, I love that question. I think it's one of the most important because it's a big block for many people. If they don't think that it's even possible to be hypnotized, then they won't ever try it or contact a hypnotherapist. So I'm so glad that the question has been asked. Very simply, yes, absolutely everyone can be hypnotized. Everyone is hypnotized naturally on their own every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give some examples of that. When we think about, and I think we've all done this, if you have a driver's license and you drive, you might be driving from point A to point B, and suddenly you're at your destination and you don't even remember the drive. You're just there. You suddenly are there. And it's a little bit alarming, I think, when we all get to that moment when we arrive and we think, oh my gosh, where was my head? I'm driving and I have no recollection. That's what we call highway hypnosis, and it is a hypnotic state. It's very natural. You didn't have a hypnotist sitting in your passenger seat, snapping their fingers. It just happened naturally. And that is something that, you're lulled into that by the humming of the vehicle, the vibration underneath your seat, the lines in the road that, go past your eyes very quickly. And so there's a lot that you're taking in, a lot of sensory overload. And these types of things can become very relaxing. Humming sounds and a continuous line going past you. And suddenly you're in hypnosis. It doesn't take much at all. So to answer that question as easily as possible, yes, you can be hypnotized. Everyone can be hypnotized. I think where that misconception comes, Frank and Genevieve, is that there are different inductions, and inductions work differently for different types of people.
Okay.
And one of the things that I really want to get into tonight is about suggestibility, because it's not something that I've talked about on your show before, and I think that's a really important factor that I want people to understand. We all have a different type of suggestibility, and there are, like, for instance, some of my clients are much more prone to the maternal, soft, gentle voice.
Right.
And there are some that want the paternal, you're going to do this and you're going to do it right now. And
I'm the former, by the way. I'm the former. Just want to just want to throw that out there.
It's important for you to know that, right? So if you're ever in a situation where you're in a big auditorium or a crowd and you're watching a hypnotist show, and he or she says, all right, everybody, I want you to close your eyes and pretend X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Your arms are going to start to feel very light. And if you're not feeling that, and you're kind of looking around from side to side, and you're looking at your neighbors going, okay, well, they seem like it's working for them. It's not working for me. That is very likely because the hypnotist is not using the type of induction that works for you.
Oh.
He or she is doing a very general induction that will work for only a percentage of the crowd, and that's what is, it's a known. I mean, there's no way that they're going to be able to hypnotize everyone because they're only doing one type of induction, if that makes sense.
Now, the next question that we have, and it kind of goes along with this a little bit, because the question is, can you meditate easily? And I guess my follow-up question would be, if you are into the practice of meditation, can you more easily be hypnotized? Like, have you seen anything like that?
Oh, gosh, yes. Anyone who is into meditation or yoga, who exercises that muscle, so to speak, are very easily hypnotized, very easily suggestible. And what's even more important is that they understand and they know how to be in control of what they are being suggestible to.
Okay.
And if I could be more clear by saying that, we can all be suggestible at different times in our day.
Right.
We can be suggestible watching television, watching a show that we've chosen to watch, and then suddenly that show goes to commercial. Now we are being shown advertisements that we are not in control of.
Right.
And if you are in a highly suggestible state, which you generally are going into about 15 to 20 times a day, naturally, if you are in a highly suggestible state, then you are going to be highly suggestible to those advertisements. So people who meditate and who are yogis, as we like to say here in LA, they have a better grip on how to control what it is that they are allowing into that subconscious realm.
Wow.
Okay.
So not only are they very easily hypnotized, they have a really keen sense of what they are allowing in, and they know how to block out what is not, on their wish list.
Right. There's a funny little fact that I want to put out there. Talk about hypnotizing in television, and this is interesting. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what you think, Jayni. It seems, and I remember finding this about a year ago or so. It seems that, everybody remembers when John F. Kennedy was assassinated in the 60s. I believe it was Walter Cronkite who, delivered the news that the president was dead. The first commercial that they played right after that was a coffee commercial, and it had a swinging pendulum of a clock, and it had that hypnotizing tick-tock. And a lot of people were saying, that it was an extremely strange commercial to go into right after the assassination of President Kennedy, because obviously here we are so many years later, and a lot of people believe that it was a conspiracy, and they point to this commercial in a way to say that they wanted to hypnotize people into believing the lies that would come after, that it was Lee Harvey Oswald and things like that. Do you find that, television could be a dangerous and powerful tool, if you will? when it comes to hypnosis?
Absolutely. And you know, just in your example there, Frank, I mean, can you imagine? They know that every single set of eyes, you know, in the nation, in the world, is watching at that very moment. I mean, they have all the attention. So, of course, why would they not capitalize on that?
Right.
You know, unfortunately, you know, they, with the capital T,
right,
do certainly have agendas that we can only try to imagine, but I don't think we could even fully comprehend what it is that they're up to and have been up to for, you know, as long as they've been able to.
Let me throw it back to the chat room. I believe it was Professor Madness who had a question about how can one go about clearing their mind?
Well, I wonder what what they mean when they say clearing the mind.
I think it was along the meditation line, you know, as far as meditating, how does one...
Okay, good. Then that's more of, you know, clearing energy and not eliminating memory. So that's just what I wanted to make sure we weren't talking about, because eliminating memories is not anything that I would ever say is a positive experience or anything that you should do, because, you know, we all go through things for a reason, and you know, it's just not something that I would ever recommend. As far as clearing the mind, though, yes, absolutely. If you can use that through meditation, yoga, and hypnosis, and I think a big part of what I do is try to alleviate that misconception that hypnosis is this sort of unfamiliar, scary word, you know, and people don't know what that is, and they think that means that they're being mind controlled.
Yeah.
It's so far from that. I mean, it couldn't be more. You know, the fact is that I tell my clients all the time, I say, this is not about me taking control away from you. This is about me giving control back to you where it is that you feel like it's remiss in your life. So, using these methods, I have some clients that see me on a weekly basis, and not for any one thing. They just do it to clear their mind, to have that clarity for the week. I have one gentleman that sees me every Sunday, and it has to be Sunday because it says my whole week I rely on that. I need that clarity and that peace of mind, and quieting that conscious mind, that conscious chatter that is so confusing and loud, and it's so hard for us to even be able to think straight if we're only in our conscious realm. So using hypnosis to go into the subconscious realm once a week is a great way to clear your mind, to let go of past thoughts that are just running like a broken record, that are they're not doing anything positive for you.
Yeah.
And you know what I've known from talking to you and discussing this kind of thing, it seems that, you know, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, right, to enter that state and you know, have more progress during that time of hypnotherapy, correct?
Oh, most definitely. You know, so many of the clients that I see will, whatever type of suggestible they are, it does not matter. Most of them will go under about 80 to 90% the first time, and 100% the second, third, fourth, fifth. Because the first time they sort of want to have one eye open, you know, they want to have one ear listening. The conscious mind is still going, well, I'm going to hang out just a little bit. I just kind of want to know what's going on and how this is working. So I expect that in the first session. That's why it usually goes a little longer, because I try really hard to explain the whole process before, and to try to alleviate that as much as possible. It doesn't happen every time. Sometimes people are just really ready and they go. But like I said, it's not too far-fetched to have clients that are, you know, they go 80 to 90% that first time, just because they want to listen in. You know, they want to know what's going on and how this is working, and you know, what the secret is, so to speak.
And another really interesting comment in the chat, and I think it seems to explain, you know, what meditation is almost. Kung Pu in the chat says, "Isn't meditation a form of self-hypnosis?"
Yes, it is, and I love that. I love to hear when people use the phrase self-hypnosis because, again, it's just chipping away more and more at the misconception and that scariness around it when people don't understand what it is. So saying self-hypnosis and comparing it to meditation is exactly what we should be doing because that's exactly what it is. Self-hypnosis and being hypnotized by a hypnotherapist, I would say the only difference is that a hypnotherapist is a guided, professional guide, and we generally can take you deeper than you'd be able to go in self-hypnosis. But that does not for a minute take away from the value of self-hypnosis and what you can gain from that, the type of benefits that you get from it. And what I said a moment ago speaks well to this moment as well, that practicing and working that muscle through self-hypnosis, meditation, yoga, those types of things are cousins to what it is that I do. And it certainly helps when you do contact a hypnotherapist. You're ready to go. You've worked that muscle and you're ready to truly release.
Yeah, and, I wanted to ask you something. I have, friends and family who, are devout in their religion, and they see hypnosis and hypnotherapy as a bad thing. When you encounter somebody that maybe is not that open to the idea of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, how do you go about, explaining something like that? Because they're under the assumption that this is an evil thing to do or a dangerous thing to do,
or
that you can mess something up,
You know what? It's not as common as it used to be. But I know that sometimes that you still run into that a little bit with religion. Sometimes when they don't understand something or it doesn't fit the mold. We can go back to witchcraft. Back in the day, and what was perceived to be witchcraft absolutely was not. We're talking about epilepsy and perhaps or just rituals. That were just for peace and wellness that were taken to be witchery. So it's kind of like that. It's like if you don't understand what it is, and if you have that misconception in your mind that hypnosis is a mind control and it can make people do things that they wouldn't normally be willing to do, then that seems to be probably a negative thing. But the problem is that is so far from the truth.
Right.
No hypnotist, no hypnotherapist in the entire world could ever once make someone do something that they didn't choose to do. There is still a willpower.
Wow.
There is still a consciousness and a subconsciousness working in that moment. And if you wanted to open your eyes, if you really wanted to, if you smelled smoke in the room and you knew that something was on fire, you would open your eyes.
Yeah.
You absolutely would. Same as if you were deep in sleep and something caught your attention and it would waken you from a deep sleep. It's the same thing. And so it's definitely been a journey for me as a hypnotherapist to alleviate those misconceptions. As many times as I hear them, I try to talk about it and say, no, that's not what it is. And that's a big thing that Hollywood can take their credit for with that, that it really looked good to have movies and television and shows where it showed people out of control. And if you've been to a hypnotist show and you've seen people acting crazy and foolish and doing silly things, would you want to know the secret behind that?
Yeah. We would love to. Yeah.
Because I think it doesn't take away from the fact that of what it is, which is an entertainment show.
Yeah.
And hypnotist and hypnotherapist, that is the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Are we using some of the same modalities? Yes. But our intention is very, very different. And a hypnotist, when they're doing that general induction out into the audience, they're choosing, they're already looking for those that are suggestible to that specific induction.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're looking for the people who have their heads dunked down and their arms raised really high, and who are in fact showing and exhibiting the behaviors of what this hypnotist says that they're going to feel. So they're looking at 20 people in the audience that look like they're quite hypnotized. And they choose those 20 people, those very specific people, to come up on the stage. You know, that choice was made, you know, very deliberately. And the people that are on the stage now realize that they have signed a nonverbal contract. They know that they are now on a stage in front of X number of people and that they are there to entertain. So you're going to see them do things, take their shoes off and talk to them like they're talking on a cell phone, or start flapping their arms around like they're birds. And it's not because the hypnotist is making them do something that they don't want to do, because I think if you've ever seen these shows, you're going to see you're usually going to see maybe 2 or 3 people up there who are just going to sit there. And very quietly, there's a stagehand that comes over and taps them out. Because those people decided, wait a minute, I'm not signing that nonverbal contract. I don't want to be a fool. I'm not going to do that. And they don't. And they're very quietly tapped out, and they're moved off of the stage very quickly.
Wow.
So you're looking at the extroverts. You're looking at what we call physical suggestibles. You're looking at people who are highly suggestible. These are people who fall in love very easily. They forgive very easily. They're usually very gregarious, outgoing. There's a certain type of personality that creates those fantastic hypnotist shows. But at no point are any one of those people doing something that they have not non-verbally agreed to.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, because I wonder that myself. I have to go back to my grad night in high school. There was a hypnotist that was brought in, and he did that whole thing. He got 20 people up there, and I saw my friends doing all kinds of crazy things, and I was like, how is this even possible? So thank you for clearing that up, because I know that a lot of people probably have that question.
People need to remember that you can in advance consciously decide I don't want to do this, and it's only those that are happy to do it in the first place that are even going to be on that stage. So,
that's absolutely right.
A couple of questions. I believe they're scrolling away, but Professor Madness in the chat was also asking how hypnotherapy can help people with depression. Specifically, how you would go about something like that.
Depression is a big one, and I specialize in trauma and stress and anxiety. So I deal with depression a lot, and really where we start is getting to the root of where that might be. And some people are chronically depressed and don't know why, and sometimes that answer isn't readily available. They just feel depressed.
Right.
So what we do through hypnosis, as we go into the subconscious realm, we bring that to the surface and we quiet the conscious mind and the critical mind. The critical mind that is telling you, right from wrong. I believe this. I don't believe that. We're going to do this. We're not going to do that. That critical mind that is constantly analyzing everything. And that in itself is a very highly stressful area of our system, and so when we're analyzing everything, and that often includes, analyzing our own selves, and how people might perceive us, and why did we do what we did last week, and the regrets and the things that we will want to change. My job is to quiet that, to shut that down, so that the subconscious mind can say, look, we're looking at past, present, and future. These things are in the past. They're not even in existence anymore. We're here in the now. And letting those things go, working them through, finding where they are located in the body, because generally we store our pain in a very specific spot. And knowing where that spot is, locating that through a subconscious body scan, and working that out. Because, depression is something that it grows like a weed. It starts usually very young, and it's undiagnosed. It's not something that is paid much attention to until it becomes so out of control that as an adult we just don't even know where to start.
Wow.
And so through subconscious awareness, you're able to just let it go. Sometimes We don't need to know where it started. It's just a matter of finding where it's located in the body and releasing it out with multiple sessions. Usually it's 6 to 8 sessions. Hypnotherapy is not something I try to have as a dependent therapy. It's maybe 6 to 8 sessions, and there should be tremendous change in that person that's effective and lasting.
And, I can kind of speak on that a little bit because we'll talk about it when we come back from the break, Jayni, my little past life regression. But just this last time we got a chance to hang out for a bit, you did a quick hypnotherapy session with me in which you asked me to locate, where this heaviness was. And it was really, really crazy because it was like somebody had put a weight right below my neck and right above, where my heart is situated. And I remember you were telling me, okay, feel it and then move it out. You were guiding me through this. And it was pretty crazy because I used to be one of those people that thought, well, I can't get hypnotized. And boy, the first time that I was with you, you proved me wrong.
You went very,
and
very...
the second time, which, honestly, it was a really straight to the point session. It was quick. However, I was able to get pretty close to the place where I was before. In a short amount of time. So, I think two things are going on here. Number one, it proves what you're saying. And number two, it also is a testament of, how good you are at what you do. Because I'm telling you, I was one of those people that honestly didn't think I could be hypnotized.
Thank you for saying that, Frank. And you just needed to know what type of suggestible you are, and what type of inductions work best for you.
Let me ask you something, Jayni, because on this show, as you know, we talk to a lot of people. And we talk about some really, fascinating topics. One of them being issues of, alien abduction. We've talked to people who have investigated it. We've talked to people who have lived it. And one thing that you hear a lot when you talk about this topic is the issue of hypnosis. They go back to the moment where it happened because a lot of times they don't remember. My question with that is, how reliable are the memories that you tap into when you use hypnosis or hypnotherapy in this way?
That's a fabulous question. There's a lot of ethics that go into becoming a hypnotherapist, and knowing that, the subconscious mind is so very powerful. And I know that, and I don't play with fire, as a hypnotherapist. I'm very, very careful. And one of the most important areas in that subconscious realm is your memory library, the things that you have gone through in your life. And going back into memories, and this is not just to say eliminating memories, but actually going back and reliving them through hypnotherapy can be very, very detrimental.
Wow.
And it can be extremely difficult for that person that's going through it.
Oh, wow.
It's very traumatizing. So when I have seen, these, alien abduction segments, and they go through hypnosis, to try to recall. Personally, in my line of work, it's not something that I would do. Are there hypnotherapists out there that would? Yes. But I wouldn't. And the reason why is because, number one, it's very easy when you're in that subconscious realm to kind of go down a rabbit hole. And when you go down the rabbit hole and you're trying to determine real experiences that you've had, live them again, those details can get a little muddled. And you can start to not know how to separate imagination from actual fact.
Wow. Okay.
And so it can be very dangerous to do that. You can bring someone into a place where they start to create memories. You don't want that.
Yeah.
You do not want them to come awake again and say, oh, so this happened. So that goes for, alien encounters. That would certainly go for something, perhaps someone who reaches out and says, I think that I was molested as a child. I really want to go back to, the weekend of Labor Day, 1975 at my Girl Scout camp, because I think something happened.
Right.
I wouldn't do that, not for a moment. because they can create false memories very easily in that subconscious journey. And that's not at all what you want to do. What I would do is I would say, consciously, let's have this conversation about what symptoms you are having due to the possibility of this molestation.
Right.
And then let's go into the subconscious realm and let's work on your symptoms, because that is a fact. That is a known. I do not work with unknowns.
Gotcha.
Because in the subconscious realm, you are going down the rabbit hole, and you could very easily open the door of imagination rather than the door of memory and not know one from the other, because you're not used to going down these halls. You don't, you're not, we're not doing hypnosis all the time every day since we were kids. So you're going into these hallways and all these doors and unlocking things that you have no idea.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that.
We're going to go to break here in just a few minutes. When we come back, I want to let people know that they need to stick around, because we're going to talk about some, really, really interesting stuff. There's already a question about astral projection. I want to talk to you about spiritual imagery. And of course, I want to get into dream therapy and obviously past life regressions, which is what I got to experience the first time. But before we, before we go to break, let me ask you something, because this is a case that on this show has baffled us from day one, and it's something that hits pretty close to home considering the proximity of the location. But are you familiar with the case of Elisa Lam, the young Canadian lady that was found dead in the Cecil Hotel? Obviously, the hotel is getting a lot of publicity right now with the premiere of I'm sorry?
The American Horror Story.
Yeah, correct. The new season. And I'm reading that, people are going in there and getting rooms and things of that nature. Obviously, we have our theories as to what happened from conversations that we've had before. I know that you're very keen on vibrations and, positive vibrations, negative vibrations, lower ones and higher ones and things of that nature. What does your gut or your instinct tell you about that particular case?
Oh my gosh. The Cecil Hotel just has such a history of very heavy negative energy experiences. It goes way back. And I just know that there was definitely something, to me, it feels like it was a very evil encounter. There is some kind of a cover-up, most definitely, because things when things don't make sense, they don't add up. I mean, when you have someone who was nowhere to be found, and then suddenly quite easily found, in a place that she should have been able to be seen during the first investigation, or the fact that she was found behind locked doors and these kinds of things. There's a cover-up. There's something going on there that we're not being told. And I don't think every crime is evil, but I would certainly say this one is. I definitely would say that this one is. I think some crimes, you can chalk up to a moment of passion or anger or, some kind of a mental disorder, but this just feels evil with a capital E, and I don't really know what else to say other than, what a terrible mystery. And does this girl even exist? I mean, I don't know. It's just so much.
It's funny because I was reading the news this week about it, and they were saying that I guess the Cecil is going to have security in place to make sure that there are no paranormal investigations going on at the hotel. If you were still doing paranormal investigations, do you see yourself going to that hotel and trying to figure out what happened?
With paranormal investigating, I loved it for so many reasons, because I felt like I was able to connect with the other side in a really good and positive way. And I felt a lot of, people would say, gosh, doesn't that scare you when you would, get these EVPs and these connections and these apparitions? And it didn't scare me. It gave me a sense of peace, and it made me feel like, wow, not that I needed the validation, but how wonderful to know that I was right, or that so many of us are right, that there is an afterlife. With that said, Frank, the Cecil Hotel is not a place that I would go. And the reason why is, again, I have this sense that it is evil. And I don't mess with that.
Yeah.
I don't mess with that. And the paranormal to me is not evil. There's just a lot of unknowns. There are certainly negative spirits or confused spirits in both. But when you're talking about an evil entity or energy or property or space or portal, no, I am staying so far away from the Cecil Hotel. I mean, I live here in the city. You know, I've lived down the block from it. I used to live in downtown LA a couple years ago, and it's just not a place I would even step anywhere near.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We have our own reservations when it comes to going to that place in particular, because there's some really funky stuff going on in that hotel. But Jayni, tell you what, if you don't mind hanging on the line, we're going to play a couple of songs here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dive back into the conversation. Check this one out. I picked this next song, Jayni, because I know you did a little pun a while back on your Instagram account with this song, with the song title. So I'm gonna go with that, and then we're gonna play another song, and then we're gonna come back. So stick around, Jayni, if you could hang on the line.
You got it.
Awesome. And for all our listeners at home, just hang tight. We're going to be right back with Jayni, hypnotherapist extraordinaire. We're talking about some really deep and crazy stuff when it comes to hypnosis and hypnotherapy, dispelling some rumors and solidifying some facts, so you don't want to go too far. Enjoy this one. You know, a little bit of Aerosmith. Jayni's got a gun.
Let's do the Rockies with Frank.
What's up, guys? This is Jorge Diaz of Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, and you're listening to West of the Rockies with Frank. This portion of the show is sponsored by Haunted Orange County, your premier source for all things haunted in and around OC. From haunted history ghost walks to ghost group hunting expeditions at some of SoCal's most haunted destinations. Make your fall plans early and book an upcoming tour or investigation today. Visit hauntedoc.com.
Open your mind.
And we are back to the second hour of West of the Rockies. I'm Frank. Thank you guys for sticking around. I know it's late, but boy, are we having a good time tonight with our guest, Jayni. Jayni, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you.
Awesome. And for the people at home, you just heard a little bit of Aerosmith. Sorry about that. Rewind. Just heard a little bit of Aerosmith with a song that, like I said, it sounds pretty close to Jayni's name, and you know she did a little thing on her Instagram, and I thought it was pretty clever. It was really clever, and I wanted to play that song because last time you were here, I forgot. I think. So.
Right. You know, it's funny because Jayni's Got a Gun was my Instagram name for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then as the whole gun controversy has just gotten bigger.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and change it. But love the song. Love Aerosmith. So that was
Yeah, no, they're pretty great. And after that, we heard a song called Beat of My Heart by Spring Terry. And you can check out her music at springterrymusic.com. And Jayni, you sent us that track, and it's a really cool track. What can you tell us about Spring and her music?
Well, you know, I'm very partial to Spring. She's my partner. My partner of almost 6 years. And she's
Congrats.
Yes, thank you. Well, she's so great. She's a songwriter and she's a music teacher. She's teaching kids now and adults, pretty much all the strings. So ukulele, bass, guitar, but she does keyboard as well and some vocal lessons. So she's music across the board. She mixes and masters. She does it all.
Nice.
And she really loves this like electronic, rock, pop. She kind of covers across the board, you know, different genres and tries to mix them in with one another. So I'm really impressed with what she does, and she's very innovative and she's a rocker. So you gotta love it. You gotta love a female rocker. I mean,
no, absolutely.
Nothing better, you know.
No, she's super cool and super talented. And yeah, the website is springterrymusic.com. Check it out. You know, here at West of the Rockies, we like to support real indie artists. Real quick, before I forget, let's do a quick round of social media. As always, Engineer Frank on Twitter, West of the Rockies on Facebook. Follow the show on Twitter at WoTRradio.com. And the website, of course, is WoTRradio.com. Sorry, the Twitter was at WoTR Radio. Sometimes the autopilot fails me. Genevieve Yue on Twitter, and you can catch her on her very own show here Thursday nights. No Other Flavors, music, jokes, facts, and a whole lot more. Tune in for that. Jayni, where can people find you on social media?
So Twitter, you can go to hypno_J. That's Jay. You can type in Journey with Jayni Hypnotherapy, and you'll find my YouTube channel where you can start practicing self-hypnosis right there. I'll take you on a journey right in the comfort of your own home. Several videos that you can find there. Facebook, same thing, Journey with Jayni Hypnotherapy. And my website is journeywithjayni.com. And Jayni is Jayni. There's no E on the end. So it's an unusual spelling. I want to make sure that was very clearly spelled so you find your way. So it's Jayni, Journey with Jayni.
Awesome. And don't worry, folks, if you missed the website or anything like that, we'll be posting it at the end of the show. Now, this is the part of the show, Jayni. Usually when we don't have a guest, right, we need to fill time. We usually have a segment here, which has been it's become quite the crowd favorite, which is, we call it, well, I started calling it the Genevieve Irvin's Dictionary Corner, because we all know, she's from England. She has that posh little accent. We love to hear her say funny, borderline risque words. And so people send their words and she says them. Now, tonight, we're not going to do that, though. Tonight, we're not going to do that.
We've got quite a few entries saved
I know.
for next week.
We're going to have to do that next week because tonight I want to take that space to actually wish Genevieve a very happy birthday.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
So happy birthday to you.
Not in this country
Happy
yet.
birthday, dear. Because they always forget the name. Yay! Happy birthday, Genevieve. Thank you for all the Urban Dictionary madness that you bring and all the fun that you bring to the show. It's
Genevieve, happy birthday. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
so special. You're a very special spirit, soul, energy, all of it. Love being around you, and you're amazing.
Thank you so
happy
much.
birthday.
That means
Yeah.
a lot coming from you.
yeah. I wish I could say nice words like that, Genevieve, but it's hard. Yeah, it's just.
It's fine. I've got Jayni to
Your
say
card is in the
nice
mail.
things.
The card is in the mail. It should arrive sometime next week. No, seriously. Happy birthday, Genevieve, and yeah, of course,
For
this
tomorrow,
show.
but you know.
This show definitely has benefited from having you on. So yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes to say that. All right, enough of all this love fest going on. Let's get back into the swing of things because I know we had a lot of questions and I apologize we haven't forgotten about them. Genevieve, do you have some of those questions?
Yes. So, thinking back, Professor Madness was asking about astral projection, and I guess, partly in general, what are your thoughts or perhaps even encounters with astral projection? Secondly, also, can, hypnotherapy help with the astral plane or even put someone into, this state of mind?
I love astral projection, and the conversation is always so rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is the stories that you can hear and read about. As a child, I had experiences with it a couple of times. I have a brother who is, he's my biological brother, and the reason I say that is because I'm adopted. So that statement is very important for me, the biological factor. And so I grew up in a home with several siblings, but he was the only one that shared my blood. I mean, he was the only person in the whole house that shared my blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they call us Catholic twins, although we weren't born into a Catholic family, but we're 12 months apart almost to the day. So we were very, very close in age. And we had just an incredible connection. We had gone through a lot of trauma together until we were adopted. And
Oh, wow.
after the adoption, we started astral traveling together. We would
Wow.
we would meet each other in our dreams. Even though we were in the same home,
Mm-hmm.
we would be across the hall from each other and sleeping in different bedrooms. We would wake up and be able to tell each other where we had been. I mean, we knew that we had been together, and I would quiz him and he would quiz me, or we'd finish each other's sentences, and it was very clear that we had been in the same spot.
Oh,
the same
wow.
place.
Wow.
So that happened. I can remember very clearly this happening twice. Could have happened more,
Mm-hmm.
but I have two very clear memories of sitting there and talking to him. And we were very young. I mean, we were 7 and 8
Oh,
at
wow.
the time, so we were very young.
Do you feel that younger people are maybe more open to astral projection, maybe because their minds are still a little clearer?
Yes, I do. I think that the youth, the children, they still kind of know, they don't necessarily need the cookie crumbs to find their way. They've taken these paths so recently, they've been on the other side. So they kind of know and they trust and they understand. We get so, again, that critical mind that I mentioned in our earlier segment it comes into play here. That critical mind is developed between 9 and 10 years old. That critical mind that is the deciding factor, and it analyzes and it critiques, and we have the willpower, and all of that is under the umbrella of the critical mind.
Mm-hmm.
So before 9 or 10, you don't have that critical mind. You're not analyzing. You're just accepting. And that can be detrimental, too, for parents who are verbally and or physically abusive. You know,
Right.
when you're doing this to a child under the age of 9 or 10, well, obviously any person at any age is a terrible thing. But under the age of 9 or 10, it's exceptionally detrimental because there is no critical mind. The child takes it in as truth. Whatever they're hearing, whatever they're seeing, before 9 or 10, before that critical mind is developed, it's absolutely the truth. It's fact. It's what it is. So if they're told they're not good enough or not smart enough or they're not cute enough, not good enough, they keep that train of thought through their adulthood.
Wow.
And, yeah. So Neil and I, my brother Neil, we had been through so much already. I mean, we had been through, by the time we were 7 and 8, we'd been through what some people never experience in their whole lifetime. And so we had that bond, you know, already. And we didn't know what safe was, you know, and even though we had just been adopted, we still didn't quite know that we were safe or trusted that we were safe. So we would, and it was a nonverbal agreement. It was just something that happened. I never talked to him about it. We would just go to sleep and we would wake up knowing that we had been together in a dream. Now, one other part of it is that I would try to get into his bedroom every night, and I would pull him out of his bed, and this was consciously. I would pull him out of his bed to come and sleep with me. And this happened night after night after night. And my adopted mom eventually caught on, and, you know, and she thought, well, this isn't appropriate, you know, you shouldn't need to sleep together, and it was nothing more than the fact that we were all we had, you know. And so that's when the astral traveling started, is when my mom put a stop to me going and getting him and bringing him into my room or curling up into his bed with him. So once that barrier was created where we couldn't physically be together while we slept, we would astral travel.
A friend of mine introduced me to the work of, I believe his name was Robert Monroe, who went on to found the Monroe Institute. And it seems that they teach people how to astral project and do things of that nature. I guess he developed a systematic method to do this. And it's really fascinating because there are stories from people that they have astral projected. You know, they talk to their spirit guides, or they visit with like alien-like entities and things of that nature. Are those things that you can do while you astrally project?
And my business is Journey with Jayni, because I create journeys, different types of journeys. And one of the journeys that I have is a journey to your wise and loving being and a wise and loving space. And that is an astral projection. That is you traveling outside of even the subconscious realm that we know within ourselves and our being, and going else, physically going there, being there. And I then guide you to call to your wise and loving being. And I say it that way because everyone has their own name for or description of that divine other, whatever that is for them, whether that's God or angels or a loved one that's passed on or just a light or it's an animal. You know, it could just be a sense about, it could be a tree. I mean, it could be lots of different things. So I don't say, well, I want you to call on your angel, because that may not be what that person likes to perceive as their wise and loving being. So I have them astral travel, astral project themselves to that place. And that is a really special journey. And it's one that allows you, the person that is going through that journey, to go outside of yourself, go to that place, physically go there, emotionally go there, spiritually go there, and ask for answers to some very important questions. And I give you time to do that. I say, do you see that being there? And I'll get some kind of an affirmation, and then, okay, I want you to ask that question. And there's generally tears, you know, streaming down their faces physically, because it is a very powerful journey. Because they're not in their body anymore. You know, their spirit has gone to that safe place.
Right.
No, honestly like fascinating. And one more question from before the break, actually, regarding hypnotherapy. Tony Merlo in the chat was asking how alcohol affects people, you know, on their journey.
Well, you know, when I have a client and we've scheduled a session, I am not even caffeine is something that I really try very hard to ask them not to intake that morning or that day.
Mm-hmm.
If they have to have a coffee, it's like, you know, just a few sips, if you will, because otherwise it really does aggravate the journey, and it keeps, you know, it can be very difficult. Alcohol most definitely is something that is going to blur the lines, and it's going to keep you suspended in a conscious realm. Alcohol, as much as we might want to think that that's our escape, it's not at all. You're very much still in your conscious realm. You're just numbing. It's a numbing agent. It's not an escape. It's not the escape that people want to think that it is. And it certainly hinders the process if you drink the night before and you didn't rest well enough. If you're still hungover, if you still have some of the alcohol in you, the sugars in alcohol will affect you. Caffeine will affect you. So you know, I very often, you know, if I'm having especially a first timer, you know, I tell them, please don't go out tonight and stay up late. Please get some, you know, rest. Have a balanced meal, and I would like for them to eat something in the morning too before they come to see me, or that afternoon, because if their blood sugar level is off, if they're hypoglycemic or hydroglycemic, or all of these things can be serious factors that will keep them in their conscious realm and slow down that process of letting go.
Wow. Professor Mann has a question here in regards to people that use marijuana. You know, our country is in a very interesting time right now with legalization of marijuana already in a few states, and obviously being legal with a prescription. Is it not recommended then for an individual to use something like marijuana to help them relax and get into that zone? Maybe they feel that's why they need it.
You know, again, it's very close to alcohol, though I would say that in a lot of ways, marijuana, you know, it's much better for you for a lot of reasons.
Right.
But it still does the same thing as far as keeping you in the conscious realm. And again, it's the misconception that it's my escape,
right?
You know, and I get to escape conscious thinking. You're not actually escaping conscious. You're still very much in the conscious realm. You're just quieting. You're numbing. You're still there, though. You know, and this action of taking a journey into your subconscious awareness is something that takes two people. It takes myself as the hypnotherapist, and it takes the client that gives that nonverbal agreement and makes that choice and follows me, follows my voice, follows my direction, and goes. If you're in, you know, a state of, you know, high because you've smoked weed or you've consumed alcohol, you're not as able to make those decisions as clearly and say, okay, I am definitely letting go. And it definitely hinders the process. So, you know, it's not something that I recommend. Can you still be hypnotized? Sure, but it takes a lot longer.
What about cocaine? I'm asking for a friend. I'm kidding.
What about any kind of substance, like any kind of drug,
right?
Alcohol,
of course,
is really going to do the same thing. So I highly recommend against it. Now that said, Frank, if I'm contacted about a drug or an alcohol addiction, and I'm being asked to help someone and alleviate that addiction through hypnosis, my answer would be, I'm sorry, ethically, It is not for me to do. I am not a medical doctor. That is not my profession. Any kind of, I do, I do anything that's vocational or avocational. So that is not going to be under the realm of alcohol or drug abuse and addiction. That would need to be something that a rehab, a medical doctor would need to assist with, detox, that kind of a thing.
Right.
So I would ask that happen first. Now, do I work with people who are in rehab or who are in some type of a program with a medical professional? Yes, but only with I would definitely need to have a referral from the doctor stating that that they are under some type of program and that they're using my services basically to help them relieve their stress through the process.
Right.
To give them clarity, to help them manifest the new life that they want. But am I going to cure them from their alcohol abuse and addiction or their drug addiction? No. No, it wouldn't be ethical for me to do that.
I see.
So
I saw a comment in the chat room by Tony Merlo when we were talking about kids and kids, being more open to these things, and he asked if it's because their pineal gland it's less calcified, more or less. What are your thoughts on the pineal gland, and does it play a role when it comes to hypnotherapy and all the things that you can do, like astrally project and meditation and things of that nature?
You and I talked about that a little bit first time we had a show. I, to be honest with you, learned more about that from you than I think you did from me, and I found it really fascinating. I mean, you really had a lot of information. Had I read about it a little bit? Yes, absolutely. And I think that was really, really fascinating. But I'm not entirely sure how it may or may not affect. Obviously, there's still a lot that is being studied about hypnosis and why it is so effective. I mean, and an effective rate is, off the charts. And why, why people are actually able to go through surgical procedures and not have anesthetics because maybe they're allergic to them and they're able to use hypnosis. I mean, we know how powerful it is, but why it works that way, is still something that's being studied. And, talking about the glare, I don't really know how that may or may not affect it. I mean, it's a very interesting topic and a really good question.
Yeah, it's funny because, a lot of people believe that this is, a very key membrane in our body. And a lot of people believe that when we drink water, and here in the U.S., I'm sure you've heard of, the fluoride in the water. A lot of people believe that kind of calcifies the pineal gland, and therefore it makes us, it begins to close us up from the spiritual realm.
Right.
Now,
where the third eye is.
Correct. Question is, are there certain things, maybe like dietary advice that you can give? Is because I've noticed that hypnotherapy has a lot of things in common with Eastern disciplines like Buddhism and stuff. And obviously they lead a very disciplined lifestyle from what they eat and how they go about their daily routine. Is there something like that for hypnotherapy, or do you recommend people maybe have a similar practice as the Buddhists to help them with this?
As far as the types of foods that people are ingesting, unfortunately, we just live in a world where, we have food-like items, but not a lot of food, right?
That is the best way of putting it. Food-like items.
Food-like items. We don't eat food anymore. We haven't eaten food in a long time. But
it's true.
It's when I work with a lot of my clients on mood swings, mood disorders, even depression and that type of thing, a lot of times I'm working with them on blood sugar levels. I'm not really the person that's going to say, you need to go on this kind of diet and eat this kind of food.
Right.
I'm going to let you as an adult to know what you should and shouldn't be eating. But But when we eat, I find, and I can even be guilty of this sometimes. I'll get up and I'll get my day going, and by noon I'm realizing I've really not had anything. I haven't sat down and had a breakfast or anything nutritional, and so that's kind of been my big, thing this year is getting a real grip on that and making sure that my blood sugar levels are being cared after, that I'm considering my body when I wake up in the morning, that I need, because that makes a big difference. And I think people don't realize sometimes how much of a difference that makes. That if you let your blood sugars drop, you are so, right, Genevieve? It's women especially, even I think, it's like we just get so aggravated, you can hardly handle anything. You're just like, you're shaky, you're nervous, you're frustrated, and it really just has to do with the fact that you should have eaten 2 hours ago, you know, and so that's a big conversation that I have with my clients. On the flip side of that as well, if I have someone that is coming to me for weight loss, I am not, contrary to what might be believed, I'm not going to put them in my hypno chair, snap my finger, and say, you're going to be 20 pounds lighter in 30 days. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I don't put them on a diet at all, because the last thing that I want to do is put them on something that's going to make them feel guilty or pull away that their yummy foods and their treats that they love so much, and have them lie to me and sneak around or midnight eating or whatnot. So what I do is I think, okay, why are we overeating? Why are you not caring about yourself? Where is that coming from? We start getting into some deep, deep stuff.
Yeah.
And once we start really getting into the root of why they're overeaters, or why their body is reflecting such depressed state and an uncaring state, then I work on the symptoms. And once I start working on the symptoms and letting them return back to loving themselves, they start putting themselves on their own diet. I have a guy that he started seeing me for stuttering, 55 years old. He's been stuttering his whole life, severely so. Within 2 weeks, stutter's completely gone. Nobody can understand it. They can't figure it out. He doesn't stutter anymore. Suddenly now, without even coming to me for weight loss, he's lost 25 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He's just suddenly, it's like everything else about his life. He fell in love with his wife again. They have this tremendously beautiful love life that they weren't even sharing a bedroom for the last 3 years.
Wow.
Now they have a love life. So it's like they start with one thing, and when they start to really care about themselves again and put that attention on themselves, suddenly you're allowing your subconscious mind to write that prescription. Your subconscious mind is the doctor that says, well, you're in here because you have a sore throat, but guess what? You also have kidney stones, and you have guilt. So we're going to deal with these things too. And that's basically what happens. They come in for one thing, and all of a sudden they're working on 3 or 4 things without even realizing it. So, pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
I think people seem to forget that, at the core of their problem usually is some form of unhappiness, with themselves or with something.
Right.
So,
that's right.
It seems like you help them solve that one thing, which, the secondary aspects are then solved on their own.
Yeah, it reminds me of what a music teacher told me once a while back. I was trying to master this difficult part in a song, and he told me, don't get frustrated, keep working on it, because once you master that, you'll find that you're going to improve in your overall playing. And it's almost like the same principle seems to apply here. If you can overcome this obstacle, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Jayni, but I don't know if you just find the confidence within yourself to make the changes that you've been wanting to make, or it, maybe just makes it that much easier. Having this obstacle out of the way, it allows you to tackle another. Is that kind of the way it sounds, right?
You nailed it. That's exactly right. Once you know that you can do one thing, suddenly the other 3 or 4 things are no longer as daunting. You realize, wow, I did this. And they see that the process isn't what they thought. It isn't me snapping my finger and it's magic and it just ends for them and the new thing begins. They did it. I guided them, but it's their subconscious mind that manifested the new behaviors and the new thoughts. And they are so profoundly taken by that. It's such an amazing thing for them to go, this man this example I'm giving, who stuttered severely.
Yeah.
I mean, I could hardly understand him the first time we spoke. And it's gone. It's completely 100% gone. And it's because we were able to determine where that stemmed from. And from there, everything else is falling into place now.
Nice.
And and that's really what it is. It's like Genevieve just said, it's so emotional. And that's why my business is Journey with Jayni. It's a journey. It's not a snap. And it's not snap of the finger with Jayni. It's journey with Jayni. It's a journey. And it really is something that people don't even realize. They don't know what it's going to look like. They don't know what's going to come up. But I promise you, and I promise the listeners, it's a very soothing, gentle, nurturing process. There's nothing stark, scary, harsh about it. Nothing like that. It feels wonderful. And I think probably, Frank, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you've been through it a couple times with me, and I can't imagine you would describe it as anything but gentle and peaceful.
Yeah, no,
you always seem, me looking at you, you always seem very,
you watched it.
Yeah, you seem relaxed afterwards, but also, energized, almost like refreshed.
There is an afterglow.
Yeah, you're usually more positive and happier after.
Yeah, and if it's okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to we got another pharmaceutical related question here. They want me to ask you if people under the influence of LSD are more prone to hypnosis. And obviously, we were talking about Charles Manson earlier, and we know that he messed around with LSD, and that's how he got his followers to do the crime that they did. Obviously, you already said that alcohol, marijuana, even caffeine and sugars are like a big no-no. I would imagine something like LSD would probably be not advisable when trying something like this. Right.
Well, I would agree, yes. And I think that LSD is slightly different because you really are on quite the journey, with LSD. But I don't believe, and I will honestly say that I'm not someone who can raise their hand and say I have had experience with it myself personally, but I have witnessed it, and what I've read about it, what I understand about it. You're not really in control of that journey either. You're on a journey that it will end when it ends, and what will happen happens. And this goes back to the truth about what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is a nonverbal agreement to go on a journey that you, in fact, are using to gain back control. Not to have control ripped from you. That is not what a hypnotherapist does. So LSD is you go on a journey and you're just going to go and you resign to whatever that will be. And whenever that will end, that's not how it is with hypnosis.
Yeah, it seems
you
like
are saying, I'm doing this, and I want to be in control. So. Yeah,
and I was just going to use the metaphor of a car almost, right? And it seems like on LSD or any other type of stimulant, if your goal is to have the benefits of hypnotherapy, it seems that if you use any kind of substance, it's more like you become the passenger as opposed to hypnotherapy where, you're driving the car and you got a co-pilot, so to speak.
Yeah, that's brilliantly put. That is brilliantly put. That is exactly right. It's a matter of whether you are in the driver's seat or whether you're in the passenger seat. And I'm the trusted voice. I'm the very best friend that you can trust and stays with you through the journey. And I think a lot of people are surprised that through the process, as deep as they go, they will still wake and say, I heard you for most of it, if not all of it. Somewhere you were in there. I could hear your voice. And that's surprising. They think, I didn't think I was supposed to hear you. Or was I supposed to hear you? And it's, yes, because you're in control. And I'm not overpowering you or your mind. I'm not going to make you black out. The blackouts, that whole sort of Hollywood blackout for hypnosis comes from about 2 to 5% of people who are referred to as somnambulists. These are people who generally were sleepwalkers as children.
Oh, okay.
And as adults, when they're hypnotized, they go very, very deep to the point where they go to sleep. And that's always kind of funny because then they'll wake and say, well, I don't know, it didn't work. I fell asleep. And I kind of smile a little bit because I think, well, you know, you were in hypnosis. That's exactly what hypnosis is at its deepest level, is sleep. So, but you know, to just make it very clear that even in that state, no matter how deep you go, if you do go to that state of complete, I'm out, I'm asleep, I'm gone, your subconscious mind is wide awake and it's hearing everything. So if you ever want to tell your lover, your partner, your wife, your husband something that's very important, wait for them to be in, you know, in their deepest sleep and start whispering in their ear, because their subconscious mind is highly suggestible. So if you want him or her to do something special for you, that would be the time to tell them.
Oh boy.
So
oh dear. Yeah, there's a little fun experiment for people to try. Let me ask you about past life regressions. You know, when I first went to see you in hopes of learning more about hypnotherapy, one of the first things I asked about was, you know, a past life regression. You know, I've been fascinated by it, and I thought it was something that I wanted to try. It was a pretty big undertaking. When I look back on it now, perhaps maybe it wasn't, you know, the best thing to start off with, but I do remember everything you've been telling people. You don't lose consciousness, you don't lose control, you're totally aware of what's going on, but in a very strange way, you are operating on a different level. In my case, like I just said, you know, I wanted to try that. It's something that fascinated me, but why would somebody want to do something like a past life regression?
Well, so much of our unwanted thoughts and behaviors are not things that we can tether to this lifetime. You know, it's past lives. If you believe in that, which I do strongly, that it's past lives that we need to be looking at. It's residuals. It's the things that we still just haven't figured out how to let go. It's karma. It's repeated offenses, you know, the things that we just keep doing over and over again. So finding out some things that are generally shocking. You know, it's sometimes you're a different gender, or, you know, you realize you find out how you died and it was something that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because it's a phobia that you have in this life. And that said, there's a difference between fear and phobia. And fear is something that occurs from an event that in fact happened to you in this lifetime. You know, if you were almost in a car accident on a freeway, you may now have a fear of driving on the freeway. Whereas a phobia is something that cannot be attached to something that happened in this lifetime. You know, I don't know why I can never go and walk across a bridge. I have never had any incidences that were scary or near death on a bridge that I can remember, but I can't get on a bridge. That's a phobia. And so when we have a phobia, if you have a phobia of spiders, but you've never been bitten by a spider, if you have a phobia of falling, but you've never had a tremendously scary fall in this life, then you need to start looking at past lives. Phobias will be attached likely to a past life. So it's a very powerful journey. I know, Frank, you experienced it yourself.
Boy, did I.
And it was fascinating.
It was honestly, I still talk about it with Genevieve. Like, it always comes up, you know, every so often.
Yeah.
And for the people that don't know, I know I talked about it, you know, the week after we went to see you for that. And I'll try to recap it briefly. You know, after you helped me get into the state of mind that will allow me to access these, you know, type of memories, you were giving me instructions of what to do, to look around you and to tell you what I was seeing. And even today, when I was telling Genevieve, like, you know, just kind of refresh my memories of that session, she was telling me that, you know, she could see that I was whispering. I was talking very softly, but
almost
she was
to yourself.
Yeah. But you were telling me that just the expressions in my face and I was moving my head around and
not moving your head, but yeah, you were
like turning my.
You were very expressive, you know. You could almost palpably, you know, feel and see the emotions coming through.
Yeah, and when Jayni asked me, you know, to see what was around me, I saw what looked just, it looked like a small, almost like a shack. Yeah, it was like a farmhouse, a small farmhouse. And I remember very vividly that the grass was kind of overgrown. It was really tall grass, maybe up to my knees. And I was a small boy.
Red-headed boy?
Yeah, a redheaded boy from what I could gather.
About 7 or 8,
yeah.
You said, I think.
I remember looking around and seeing this house, and it was almost like very picturesque. It's almost like, when you buy those, those 1,000-piece puzzles with a really nice scene, a really nice scenery. It was almost like that. It was really nice. It was like a mountain in the background, and I remember seeing the fence made out of wood, just this crude wood beams, like you could tell it was made by hand with very, like minimal tools, if you will. And I remember just standing there, and you were telling me, like, how do you feel? And I believe I said something along the lines of scared.
Yeah.
Because I felt like there was something ominous behind me. And it turned out that, that there was like a storm coming. I remember saying something about a storm, and this is the part that blew my mind, that I apparently in that life, as a child, or well, not as a child, but I guess
at that age,
yeah, but I didn't reach
beyond that.
Yeah, because you asked me, let's fast forward to a later age, and I couldn't. There was no more.
Right.
And
you fast forwarded to your last age, which was
I fast forwarded to the last moment of life in that body. And I remember going through like a tunnel and doing this whole crazy business. I'm telling you, I still think about it, and it was very. It was a fascinating experience. I remember that I told you afterwards, almost thinking out loud, if that's why I have a fear of water. I'm reading here something in the chat from Professor Madness, who said, "Our memories in the genes," and that's something really interesting, Jayni, that maybe you can tell me a little bit about, because we've spoken to a past guest on the show, Eric Von Daniken, who a lot of people know from his books, and we were talking about some of some really heavy stuff, and the issue of it's knowledge passed down in our DNA, and I always cite the example of when somebody sees a kid that plays an instrument really good, and they'll go, oh yeah, he comes from a family of musicians, or a long family of musicians, or a long family of this. It's almost like that skill seems to get passed down. Is that how maybe we manage to remember a past life? Do you think, is there a possibility that we might be seeing a relative, maybe a distant relative, an ancestor of ours? Could it be that we might be seeing life through their eyes, and because it's our same DNA, we treat it like as a past life? Or from what you study and what you know, are we actually experiencing an independent past life, independent from our family lineage, that is?
I think that's a really awesome and powerful question, and something to really ponder. And I think that everyone will have their own take on that. Personally, for me, when I hear the word DNA and genes and genetics, I think of a very physical realm. I think of cells and atoms and the physical bodies and what makes us who we are. And that separates me a little bit more from the idea of continued life over and over and over again in different bodies, in different countries, in different times, with different families. So those two don't marry very well for me when I think of past lives and memories, and then when I think about genes and genetics. But that's me. I just don't see them connecting very well. I think that memories stay with the spirit of who we are, and the spirit, the core, our light, who we are in all of our essence, and who we have been all along the way, from the very beginning of our existence, and that will run eternal. So I think that most of us are made not to remember in the conscious realm, in these physical bodies, because otherwise it would just be very confusing. And I can only imagine. I think that, Frank, you and I were having this conversation just a few days ago about the fact that I think that we're not meant to know everything. I think if we know everything, it becomes detrimental to us because we need to be protected, you know. So I don't think we're meant to know all of our past lives. But every once in a while, through meditation, yoga, hypnotherapy, dreams, or just intuitive practice, just really getting, you know, sitting quiet with yourself and thinking about what makes sense, what makes sense to you. And I do have a past life memory that I know is very, very rare because I don't think most people do. I don't know that I ever had a dream about it. It's just been kind of a known for me since I was a very young child. But it's one of my earliest, quote unquote, memories, and yet it's not from this lifetime.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty graphic, pretty gruesome. I can remember being a baby, a very young infant. And I'm outside at night. I'm being held by a man, and there's lots of men around. And they're wearing uniforms. I mean, I can see that they're all wearing, as a baby, I don't know that that's uniform, but out of my baby eyes, I can see that every man is wearing the same thing. Long cloak, kind of buttoned up jacket, like from the neck all the way down. And there's lots of babies. And I hear crying everywhere, and I'm crying, and I'm cold. I remember being very cold and very uncomfortable and scared. I felt a lot of fear, and it's nighttime, and then there's just this glow, this like orange glow, and suddenly I'm tossed up in the air. I'm actually tossed upward, and I can feel myself fly up over the heads of the people and the other babies, and then I'm falling down into a pit of fire, a huge pit of fire. And other babies were being thrown in, and we're alive, and we're in. And I can remember actually feeling my head hit the side of something, and and then it's just a blackout. So in this lifetime, I'm deathly afraid of fire, burning, and falling. Both of those things, fire and falling, have been just horrifying thoughts to me. I can't even wrap my head around dying that way.
Oh, my God.
So I do have a fear of heights, and I have fear of fire, flames, and not that I can't sit near a campfire, but I certainly am very aware, you know, that I'm going to get like pushed in or something. I believe with all my heart, because it was not until the 8th grade of this lifetime that I learned about the Holocaust. And I was so enthralled with that. I just thought it was like I had to know everything. I had to read everything. I wanted to read it over and over again. I was fascinated and horrified all at once. And someone had recommended Elie Wiesel's book called Night. And he's a survivor. He was a young teenage boy, 13 or 14, when he was in the concentration camp with his family, mom, dad, and sister. Everyone in his family died but him, and he wrote this amazing award-winning book. And it was actually on Oprah's book club a few years ago. Anyhow, I read the book, and there is one page where he talks specifically about watching the SS soldiers standing at night holding these little babies.
Oh, my God.
And just tossing them alive into the fire.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
And I have just chills. Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, I'm speechless. Yeah. No, that's heavy.
You know, that this seems to tell me that since a young age, you seem to, you know, be a little more open than most people to this realm, the spiritual realm, and it seems like, you know, that's helped guide you in this life and, you know, become a more spiritual person, because, you know, the things you tell me, things like astral projection and a memory or two from a past life, is something that most people just cannot do, and, you know, most don't even believe in.
Right. They don't even think about it as a possibility or question it or, consider it. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think the more lives that people live, the more opportunity they have to be open, as open-minded as the two of you are, as I hope to be, as I know that your listeners are and try to be. And we're all trying to get the answers, and I don't have all the answers. I feel an intuition that pulls me towards what I believe to be my truth. And I don't try to put that on anyone else. And that is why, again, what I do is I allow people to go on their own journey, to go on the journey that fits them and what they need for health and wellness and whatever they need to help them through this life.
Yeah.
And if that means letting go of past lives, if that means changing the way that they think about themselves in this life, changing unwanted habits, behaviors, that's what I'm here to do. And I hope to do.
Quick programming note. We started a tad late, and we apologize for that. So we're going to go over just a few short minutes to make sure that we give Jayni the time that we allotted for her. Genevieve, you had something.
Yes, a few minutes ago there was another question from Kong Pu in the chat room, and it's regarding brain states. The question is hypnotism most productive in the alpha state or maybe the theta state? I'm not sure if that's something you incorporate in your hypnotherapy as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, when you are able to, and I don't know how many people know about alpha and theta and those types of states of mind, but hypnosis can be done on any level. And it can be done very lightly, very heavily. It can be done in alpha, beta. It can be done in the way that works best for you. And that kind of goes back to what I said in the earlier stages of the conversation, that everybody is different and everybody will have a different type of induction, and everyone has a different, an awareness when they're in it. And some people do it better in the daytime. Some do it better at night. So knowing those different stages, of awareness, your subconscious and conscious awareness is a very powerful thing. And if you know about that and you're educated in that, it just helps you even further, to be successful, through hypnotherapy.
Yeah. Jayni, have you tried hypnotizing or using hypnotherapy on yourself, or is hypnotherapy something that has to be done between two people?
I do self-hypnosis at home. I enjoy it very much. I don't listen to my own videos. It's kind of like, you can't really tickle yourself.
Right.
That's kind of the thing, right? I don't really listen to my videos, but I so appreciate everybody who does and who enjoys it, and I get a lot of positive feedback. But, I prefer, to listen to other hypnotherapists, and I will put on their videos and, close my eyes. And I enjoy doing that at night, right before I'm going to bed. 30 minutes before you fall asleep, you're highly suggestible. So whatever you want to do to tell yourself, to try to manifest, that's the time to do it. And that goes way back. We have known this from, the very beginning. I mean, this is why people pray before they go to bed at night. They kneel at the end of the side of their bed and they clasp their hands together and they pray. That's because that's the realm to do it. They are manifesting what they need, want, and desire. That is the time. So 30 minutes before bed, make that your time. Turn off the television. Go into that peaceful state.
Yeah.
Think about what your day looked like, what you might want to change for tomorrow. And that's what I enjoy doing. So I'm a big fan of it. Now, as far as a full hypnosis, I have definitely gone into, I obviously have fellow friends who are hypnotherapists who do sessions on me, not as often anymore, but I've had it done many times and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think that you make a very valid point of saying, take the time to do this, even if it's, like before bed or whenever people have a chance to have some quiet time, because we live in a world right now where everything is competing for our attention, right? From our phones to our tablets, computers, friends, family, and all that stuff. There's people have busy lives, but I like what you said right now, that you should take the time, and make this a part of your daily routine if you're serious about taking on this journey, as you say, correct?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Jayni, we're going to let you go in just a moment, but I got a two-part question because I don't want to let you go without you telling us a little, even if it's just like a quick definition of these two terms that we see on your website that you help people with. Mm-hmm. One is dream therapy, and the other one is spiritual imagery. Can you tell us a little bit about those two things and what do they entail?
Oh yes. I love dream therapy. And I think it's a really powerful journey for those that are that would like to connect more with what their dreams are telling them. You know, if you have a dream interpretation book at home, I would say throw it away.
Really?
Throw those away.
I had a really funny one, which was awful.
Of course.
I bought it from like the dollar section.
Oh, well, if we can laugh at it, then keep it. So we can, you know, I'm kidding.
Right.
But you know, it's one of those things where, you know, for dream therapy and dream journeys, everybody's dreams are telling them something that's going to be different. If I dream of a black house with white trim and there's a stormy cloud over it, that is going to tell me something very different than what it might tell you, Genevieve. Mm-hmm. Because it's a symbol that my subconscious mind is telling me because it knows that I'm going to take it in a certain way. If I'm paying attention, it's going to say, Jayni's going to get this. This one Jayni will know. I'm going to tell her like this because she's going to get it. And it might be something very different for you, Genevieve. Spiders is something that comes to me very often. Now, for me, I tend to find that it means that if I'm spinning, you know, a web of lies or I'm not being truthful with myself about something. Whereas for others, when they see spiders, it means creativity and, you know, and encouraging them to try something new and to start a new project. So dream books really are, they're not exactly very helpful, right? Because it's giving you one idea of what that one symbol might mean, when in fact it can mean 100 different things,
right?
To 100 different people.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then the other spiritual imagery is a lot of what I was talking about earlier with going to that wise and loving place and speaking to your wise and loving being. It's a spiritual journey, and it's imagining yourself elsewhere. So it really marries to astral travel, astral projection. It's a very powerful journey, and something that I usually build up to with my clients. I usually will start a journey of just building rapport with them and allowing them to just be guided on a relaxation journey, and then that's usually the second one. If they choose to do a spiritual imagery journey, it's usually my second journey with them, just so that they can kind of prepare and gear up for it.
Wow. Thank you so much for those definitions, Jayni, because as people can see when they visit your website, journeywithjayni.com, you help them with different aspects of their lives. You know, I'm reading here, stress relief, coping assistance, trauma therapy, relationship balance, pain management, which I need when I get the bills at the end of the month, fears and phobias.
Right.
Positive reinforcement, and of course, dream therapy and spiritual imagery, which we just talked about, and past life regression. So there's definitely a lot of ways that people can seek help, it seems, with this method.
Absolutely. And I want to mention, too, that if you're not in the LA area or if it's not feasible for you to see me in person, I do Skype and phone sessions. As a matter of fact, my amazing client who has quit stuttering and lost all his weight, and he is in a different state.
Oh, wow.
And I have never, ever been in the same room with him, not once.
Wow.
So he found me on YouTube, at Journey with Jayni Hypnotherapy, and enjoyed the self-hypnosis that he was able to do through my channel and contacted me. So, and we have been doing weekly sessions for 2 months now. And now I am seeing his wife and his son. So,
very good.
So so Skype and phone are very effective. Obviously, I prefer to be in person with every client just because I really enjoy that intimate connection, but we can do it across the sea, so to speak. So please contact me, and, it doesn't matter where you are. I'm happy to assist.
That is great, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would like to, get in touch with a hypnotherapist, and they would love to get in touch with you. And it's reassuring to know that they can receive the same type of treatment via telephone or a Skype, a session, I should say. Obviously, not everybody has the money to travel to LA and do those things. So that is really cool.
Right.
One more quick question. You mentioned doctors earlier. How, do doctors interact with you, and how likely is it for them to, give a referral, or is that something that generally doesn't happen?
That's a great question, Genevieve. They're becoming much more open to it. As a matter of fact, Kaiser Permanente, which is located here in California, I don't know how many other states they're in, but I know California, and they have just now started an imagery center. So they are allowing us to, yes, fascinating. The first one is in San Diego, and it's a whole imagery center. So they're having patients use imagery, which is amazing. I mean, that's hypnosis. To alleviate pains and to even shrink, cysts and ulcers and all kind. I mean, you really ought to read about it. It's amazing what the medical industry is starting to finally see, that they may not be able to understand why, but it is working.
Right.
It's very effective, and it's ancient, and it's natural, and why the heck not,
Yeah, and that is a really big one for me, that it's natural, because again, we're in a society that's obsessed with prescription drugs, and they're trying to give you a pill for everything in this world. And I think that a lot of times, look, I mean, I'm not going to get into a whole debate on pharmaceuticals and whatnot, but I believe that a lot of times the side effects of a lot of these prescriptions are worse than whatever symptom you're trying to treat.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that there is an alternative like the one you provide, it's totally natural. It doesn't involve, putting anything in your body that could be harmful or have any funny side effects. It's something that will help you grow literally from the inside out, it seems.
Exactly right. I mean, we, back in the beginning of our time, on this earth, we knew how to connect with our spiritual selves and how to heal naturally.
Sure.
And then the Industrial Revolution came about, and everything became machines, including us. And we were told and believe now that, surgery and medicine fix us, that we are systems, and everything about us is systematic. We are now finally starting to come back to the original thought and the knowing that we're not machines, and we're not that type of a system. We're a spiritual system, and we need natural methods and modalities. So I'm thrilled to see so many yogis out there, and the meditation and the embrace of hypnotherapy, because it works. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really does, and I can attest to that. Jayni, what can I say? Thank you so much for taking the time for being with us tonight. It's been an amazing, insightful, and informative conversation, just the way we like them on this show. We really, really appreciate you taking the time. Why don't you tell people one more time where they can find you?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Frank and Genevieve. And for all of the viewers and listeners for West of the Rockies, you can go to www.journeywithjayni.com, and that's Jayni, no E. So you can go there, and of course, you can find me on YouTube and Facebook with the same handle, and then Twitter, the only place that's a little different, is hypno_J, Jay.
Very cool. So that's how you can get in touch with Jayni, and hey, set up
several thank yous in a chat.
Yeah,
to Jayni as
people
well.
were loving it. People were loving it. Thank you so much, Jayni. We really appreciate it. And if you miss any part of this interview, be on the lookout. We'll have it on our website this week, along with a really cool video that we shot with Jayni, and the first in our series that we hope to do. And Jayni was kind enough to be our first victim. No, I'm kidding. Jayni was great.
Always a pleasure with you guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jayni.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Take
thank
care.
you to Spring Terry for that music.
SpringTerryMusic.com. We're actually going to play one of her songs here at the end. Thank you so much, Jayni. and we'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
There you have it, folks. A big thank you to Jayni. She did a great job at helping us understand some of the truths and dispel some of the false information out there regarding hypnosis and hypnotherapy and the like. Again, if you miss any part of this show, definitely, be on the lookout for the podcast, because it was really great. We really appreciate having Jayni on the show tonight. And as I said, we're going to go out with one more song by Spring Terry. Don't forget to check out her music. The website is springterry.com.
I think it might
Super
be
talented.
Spring Terry Music.
Oh, Spring Terry Music. I apologize. You will find the link on our website as well when this show is up. I want to thank Jayni one more time. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for sticking around.
And everyone would like to thank Frank as well.
Oh,
Frank,
well.
you never disappoint.
Well,
Thank you, Prof.
Some might beg to differ. Thank you, guys. No, it's we have fun putting these shows together for everyone.
Definitely.
And yeah, thank you for all the support, Genevieve. Thank you, and once again, happy birthday.
Oh, it's nearly there.
It's almost there here on the West Coast, but for the East Coast and some other parts of the world, it's already your birthday.
In my birth country, it is.
There you go. So have a great birthday.
Thank you.
We're gonna go out with this little jam from, as I said, Spring Terry. Check out the website once again, springterrymusic.com. Don't forget to go to journeywithjayni.com. And check out her YouTube channel, where she has, some really interesting videos, and you can kind of see how she works. And honestly, if you're anything like me, you know that she's the right person to talk to, when it comes to these issues. I believe I'm going to be setting up one more session, and as I continue to explore this world of hypnotherapy and see,
Yeah, we'll
how
keep you
updated. What the benefits that come of it.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, the song we played earlier on was called Beat of My Heart, and this one will be Cry Final.
Here we go, guys. Take care. Be safe. God bless. Don't do anything too crazy. Want to see you back next week. Enjoy this really cool song by Spring Terry.
See ya.
Can't help but love you anyway. West of the Rockies with Frank the Engineer on the Independent FM, Los Angeles.